All right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fan Discussions, continuing our pay-per-view retro review series. This is going to be WCW Slamboree 1993. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank, and let's get into it. This was a sort of, again, something new that WCW was trying. They would do a night where they would honor the legends
Yeah.
of the past of the industry. They brought in a whole bunch of guys right before the night started. They honored a few in a Hall of Fame induction that night, as well as even had a few of the legends fight in a couple of matches, which was okay. The one thing I like before I get into this, because I had to look this up, was Stu Hart was at this,
Yeah.
and he was in the ring, and then they also interviewed him later,
Hmm.
and I wondered, I said, okay, what did Vince give the okay for it? And there was an
No.
article that
But
said, did Vince ever take it out on Brett and Owen because their father was there? The answer to that is no.
because remember Stu didn't work for
Yeah,
WWF.
Stu wasn't under contract with
No, it
them.
was another contract, so they couldn't tell him. He couldn't tell
Stu
him
could
not
go
to.
wherever he wanted,
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool that he's like the guy that it could appear on WWF and WCW. You
Yeah,
know? He's
I don't even
supporting
think
his
he knew where he
son-in-law.
was.
Uh,
I'm
supporting
being
his
like Paula
son-in-law.
right
Yeah,
now.
supporting the
So,
British Bulldog, his son-in-law.
yep, was in the main event this evening. So let's get to it. May 23rd, 1993, from the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia. 7,008 on fans and on hand, and probably about half of those were the legends.
The
You
home
had
of
Tony,
WCW, Atlanta,
yeah,
Georgia.
seriously. Tony Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko. Jesse Ventura was hospitalized with blood clots at this point, so that's why he's not doing the commentating here.
Yeah,
So
because I
we got
know.
Yo Boy, the
Yeah.
living legend, doing it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So like I said, before the night, they had all the legends in the ring before the event, as well as the fabulous Moolah being carded
Yeah.
like the queen, when the queen of not queen of WWE, but queen of wrestling, pretty much
Yeah.
in her tenure as she came to the ring. The night started off. It was Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Alexander Bagwell versus Bobby Eaton and Chris Benoit. Now this match was pretty good.
It
I,
was,
I
but
love that
Scorpio almost killed Benoit. He sat on his head. It was
at the ending. Yes,
yeah.
yeah, that was yeah. He
That's
literally had his butt cheek on his
yeah.
face.
It look bad.
Yeah, luckily Benoit was okay.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because Benoit actually held Bagwell. Eaton accidentally hits Benoit. Bagwell took Eaton to the outside. Scorpio draw on the top rope, did that leg drop that hit Benoit in the face against the pin. And so Bagwell and Scorpio, who were underrated tag team at this time in WCW, get the victory.
Yeah. It was a good way to open up. Good way
It
to start the
was
pay-per-view. Unfortunately, it was kind of downhill from this point on.
seriously. And the next match was actually something that was just signed, I believe, like hours before the event. It was Van Hammer versus a mystery opponent.
Mhm.
Reason why is because Colonel Rob Parker, who's new to WCW, came in, wanted to recruit Van Hammer. Van Hammer wasn't having it.
Turn them down.
So Parker said, okay, I've got somebody
Yep.
big enough to take you out. And it was the return
Return of
of
Sid.
Sid Vicious
Hmm.
in a 35-second
Squash
squash
match.
match
Yeah.
to
And
show how that
he was
Vicious never
dominant.
lost it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He looked great.
So
He was in great shape.
oh, he still looked like Sid Justice.
Jacked. He was jacked as hell. Van Hammer, I've always said this, had a good look, but then the bell rang. That was it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when they brought him back during the NWO era, I'm like, you're still here? Like, I
Yeah.
thought they got rid of you years ago.
He looked the part though, man. He looked the part.
He had it, but
Always in
like you
great
said,
shape.
when the bell rang,
The bell rang. I mean,
that was the end of that.
what was it?
So moving on from there, the next thing they did was Eric Bischoff interviewed Red Bastien and Bugsy McGraw, a couple of the legends. Following that, we had our first Legends match. It was Dick Murdoch, Don Morocco, and Superfly Snuka
Superfly.
versus Wahoo McDaniel, Blackjack Mulligan, and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell.
Hmm.
Couldn't find anybody better. I mean, seriously, nobody, anybody? No, okay, just checking.
This was the same time that WWF started their Hall of Fame, right? With Andre the Giant
Yeah,
being
because Andre
inducted.
had just recently passed,
He was like the only
and
person they inducted. I think he's the only,
first ever, yeah.
initially the first ever. So I guess this is kind of their response. They want to do a Legends show.
Yeah, and this was their inaugural induction to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Although it does eventually, as the Slamborees go on, they phased it out.
Right, eventually, yeah.
But the first couple, they did it in honor of them and let them fight too.
Yeah, I mean it's a cool. I mean, I might as well just say this. Like honestly, I felt like this whole legend stuff should have been a separate thing. Could have been a WCW Saturday night. Could have been a Clash of the Champions. Because my
I
problem
would
with
say
this,
Clash of Champions.
because my problem with this pay-per-view is like you're kind of jumping back and forth from the current product to the legends, and then it's like you don't even hype up you don't even hype up the world title match. It's like almost like an
Which is what they normally do.
right throughout the evening, like they're
Mm-hmm.
hyping it up, like, oh, we're getting ready for Vader versus Bulldog for the title. And it just to me didn't feel like a pay-per-view. It didn't feel like a WCW.
Like this is something just there for the legends. And
Felt like a
that was it.
mishmash. Yeah, it felt like
Yeah.
it was like it almost felt like it was for the legends, and here we'll throw you some active wrestlers. I don't know.
Like here's Don Morocco from 40 years ago. By the way, there's Vader in the main event.
Yeah. I think the concept was good, but I think that they could have done it a different.
Unless if they would have did something like the legends versus the current product,
Yeah,
where they got into it, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Like let's say Vader wasn't on the card and he got in, let's say Morocco's face,
Yeah.
and then, I mean something like that.
The way they did this, it just didn't feel so.
No, and this match ended in a no contest. They all got in the ring. The referee said, "Out of hell with it, throw it out. I'm done."
All right.
Because I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
So following this match, Missy Hyatt had interviewed the Assassin and Mad Dog Vachon. And what's funny is, Mad Dog pulls the mic back. I'm not finished talking. Yes, you are. Give me the mic back.
Yeah.
The Assassin over there calling out Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, please God, let's not have this match. And Dusty later on, I'll say it again. Dusty accepts the challenge, and I'm like, all right, calm down, Dusty. Oh my God, good old Dusty. Our next match was Thunderbolt Patterson and what was supposed to be Bob Armstrong, but due to an injury, replaced by Brad Armstrong, against Ivan Koloff and Baron von Raschke.
There's an Armstrong here.
And the most successful one was in WWE. Yeah. Road Dogg, in my opinion. I mean, come on. Did they ever do anything with an Armstrong in WCW other than get whooped by somebody? Come on.
I wasn't a fan of the Road Dogg.
He was the most successful out of the family.
That's not saying much.
Well,
the only thing he said was, "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, blah 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 blah," and that was it.
Like you didn't go to a house show at the Garden and repeat it as he's saying it. Come on.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's the only thing you remember. Do you remember one match of his? Yeah, I'm not talking about tag team. But I'm saying, does one match stand out that you're like, wow, he really tore the house down that match? No.
Not without Billy Gunn.
That's what I'm saying. And even then, Billy Gunn was the worker. It wasn't him. He was, he was just like the entertainment.
I mean, they did put him in.
I never liked
singles competition for a little bit.
I never liked him. Never liked him. He says a lot. He says a lot of stupid stuff now that I don't agree with. So.
In the business, who doesn't? So this was another match that was short. Thunderbolt Patterson looking like he's having a seizure over there while he's fighting. Although it did work. The fans were really behind him. Everything. He still looked like he could wrestle too. He gave a shot to the throat of von Raschke and got the pin. And that's how that one ended. Now the next segment they did after this, they did a Flair for the Gold segment, which I like these when they did them. He reunited the Four Horsemen. He brought out Arn and Ole Anderson. Mm-hmm. Told Arn, you can't touch the champagne, and the girls are off limits until your match later, because he's fighting for the NWA championship. He told Ole, go get drunk. Ole was the first one over there with them girls, and then they introduced Paul Roma as the newest member of the Four Horsemen.
Right, nobody cared.
No, because I didn't think he fit in.
He didn't. I mean, Paul. And I thought Paul. We've spoken about this. He was a good wrestler.
Yes, he was.
Just didn't fit in with them. The other thing is they announced that prior to this that Tully was coming back. Like they had advertised that Tully was coming back. The story,
and they mentioned something about Tully during
the story. Because the story is they offered him $500 and he didn't even call him back.
Can you blame him?
No, if that story is true, that they offered him $500 to show up that night.
And he just didn't respond. Like, honestly, I don't blame him.
Yeah, because that's supposedly that's the story, and so they're like, "Well, we have an idea."
Because I believe one of these matches was supposed to have him in it. I'm not 100% sure.
I know he was. I know the initial plan was he was supposed to be there, so they brought in Paul Roma. He just didn't fit with them, and then everybody hated him in the Four Horsemen. I don't even think they acknowledge him. I don't even think the Horsemen really even acknowledge him too.
No, unfortunately, no.
No.
So, in any event, following the Flair for the Gold segment, Johnny Valentine had joined the commentary team for the upcoming match. It was Dory Funk Jr. versus Nick Bockwinkel.
Mm-hmm.
And Vern Gagne was in Bockwinkel's corner. Gene Kinsuki was in Funk's corner. This was like NWA versus AWA. This is what they were, what their dream match of the '80s.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see. Even though like
Yeah.
it's some of this is
I
like a
mean,
little bit before my time,
yeah.
but I know the history somewhat, so it's like still kind of cool to see. And I can
Well,
see if you were older, I could see how you would be a fan of this. You know?
I watched some of the AWA stuff, the super clashes they had. And I mean, Nick Bockwinkel is a former AWA champion. He fought Hulk Hogan in the ring when he was there. I mean, AWA wasn't bad. A lot of the guys that we're familiar with later on in WCW
They came
from
from AWA.
there.
Yeah.
And Rick Martel was a former champion there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, the Funks, they're just crazy. They'll fight until they're dead. So, like Flair is. So, of course, Dory Funk is still going to be active at this point. So is his brother. By now, thankfully, they're retired finally. The match itself wasn't bad. It ended in a time limit draw. They wanted to add some more time to it. Referee's like, "Nah, get out of here. You guys are done." But the match itself was pretty decent. So, following this, now Eric Bischoff had interviewed one of the all-time greatest, Lou Thesz, and so that was a pretty short interview there. Anyway, moving on. The next match was one to me that didn't make any sense. Why wasn't either of these titles put on the line? Would have made the night a little better. It was Dustin Rhodes and Kinsuki Sasaki versus the United States champion Ravishing Rick Rude and the television champion Paul Orndorff.
And Orndorff was injured. I think he had a pulled groin. You can see he can't really move.
I just don't understand why Rude
wouldn't
didn't
you?
have a title shot. And
you
leave Orndorff off the card if he's injured, but at least have a U.S. title match at this.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's chaotic because so Bill Shaw's in charge right now. Watts just got fired. Eric Bischoff doesn't have. Eric Bischoff, I guess, is kind of producing, but he's not he doesn't have full control because there's a transition period. Eventually, Bischoff does get control. So I think they didn't know what the hell they were doing at this point. And there was no direction, which is also a reason why they had this, Legends thing, which doesn't really do anything for the current product, like going forward.
No.
And it's a terrible buy rate. I think this is the lowest pay-per-view ever in WCW history, I think.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah, I think it might actually be the one, but it's certainly one of them.
Well, if it beat out the 2001 pay-per-views, I'll be impressed. Because those were bad.
I think it was a .3. I think this is a .3.
Well, like we said, this Legends thing should have been a Clash of the Champions honoring. Like when they did the Clash of the Champions, the 20th anniversary, they brought in all the legends that night. Something like that, when they did that, should have been what they did here. Not on the pay-per-view.
Either way, we get this match.
Yeah, Sasaki was on the top rope. Orndorff pushed him off. Rude hit the Rude Awakening and pins him.
But it was like botched, not because of Rude's fault. I think Sasaki screws it up, right? He turns the wrong way. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really take it right, and then it looks like he's kicking out of it. Like when he gets him and he pins him, he doesn't sell it. Like the Rude Awakening, you should be done.
Yeah, I don't.
He's like kicking up.
They had issues with him.
Yeah, I was like, why? I don't know.
And why is Dustin Rhodes teaming with him? I don't know, man. This was one of those matches that, again, just put Rhodes versus Rude for the title, and would have been a lot better. Yeah. So after this, Gordon Soley had introduced the Hall of Fame inductions, inducting Lou Thesz, Vern Gagne, Mr. Wrestling #2, and Eddie Graham, which was his son Mike Graham that took over, that took the honor for him.
Yeah. If you don't know, Mike Graham is the one who coined the phrase "broke 6,000 guitars, never drew a dime," and that's in regards to Jeff Jarrett.
Best thing he ever did.
Rest in peace to Mike Graham.
Yes, exactly. So the Hall of Fame thing was it was nice to see that. And Gordon Soley, I mean, God bless him. He was an icon to the industry as ring announcers, but every time he's on, I mean, I'm like, good night. I don't know. It's just maybe because it was before my time. Maybe that was it. But he was still an icon to the business. So in any event, following this, Missy Hyatt now had interviewed Lord James Blears and John Tolis, two more legends that they brought in. for the night. Now our next match was actually supposed to be Flash Scott Norton versus the Prisoner, but he was injured, so Sting takes over.
It wasn't even that. They lowballed him. They lowballed him on, they lowballed him on money. So he was just like, "How the hell with this?" He was pretty upset because he was making decent money in Japan. So like the offer they gave him, he was like, "What is this? Like, this is garbage." So
yeah. So what do they do? They take one of their top stars and putting him in there with a bum. And if anybody doesn't know who the Prisoner is, it's Nails.
Yeah, and when he came out, it was like a fart in church.
Seriously, because the first thing I see when I see him is, "Oh, Vince McMahon told me to take steroids." Well, how can we tell? You're wearing a jumpsuit.
He also said that Vince McMahon like tried to like grab him or something.
This was
it's after he choked him out.
This is one of the biggest bums they ever brought into wrestling. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, because what happened was the story is that Nails was choking out Vince, and then Vince tried to press charges, and then he said that Vince like sexually assaulted him or something.
Wow.
Anyway,
what an imagination.
Yeah. Well, I think it prevented him from getting arrested, though. So
and then what was it? After the Boss Man, it was supposed to be a program with the Undertaker.
Yeah, he got fired.
Well, I'm glad we didn't get that.
No,
so anyway, we get Sting versus the Prisoner, and this is actually a short 5-minute match.
Thank God.
Sting with a flying clothesline off the top rope and pinned him. Didn't even do the Scorpion Deathlock. Nothing. Sharpshooter. Nothing.
No,
that's how we get rid of this bum and get him out of here. Because. And nice, thinking about the name. Oh, the Prisoner. Yeah, okay. You guys really put a lot of hours and thought into this one.
Jesus Christ. Too bad. Yeah. Too bad he didn't hang around long enough to meet up with the Boss.
Again.
Yeah.
Have another nightstick match.
Yeah.
That was so bad.
Oh well.
So our next segment on the night was Eric Bischoff now interviewing the Crusher and Ox Baker. Crusher was a famous tag team champion throughout his era.
Yeah.
Still looked like he had it. I think he still wanted to get in the ring that night. So, but our next match was for the tag team championships. It was a steel cage match. It was the Hollywood Blondes versus Dos Hombres, Ricky Steamboat, and it was supposed to be Shane Douglas. Now, here's the little funny twist on this one. They announced it as Shane Douglas, but it was actually Tom Zenk. Yeah. Why? Shane Douglas left over a contract dispute. So nobody knew that he was gone. Well, so they believed him to be under the mask, and the announcers are calling it as Shane Douglas, and it's not Shane Douglas.
Maybe they didn't know. I tend to think that they did know. The announcers knew, but they told him, "Look, don't say anything."
Because remember, Capetta had
already advertised
announcing it.
They're probably like, "Look, they can't tell anyway. He's got a mask on. We already advertised this guy in the match. Just go with it. Nobody be the wiser."
You could tell the body frame from Douglas and Zank. It was a little bit, there's a difference there.
I tend to think that that's what happened. They were just like, just go with it.
So, I mean, the match itself wasn't bad. You got Austin and Pillman, doing their thing. They were great at this time. Steamboat did a crossbody off the cage on both Hollywood Blondes. Austin got the stun gun on Tom Zenk, and he got the pin there. So, and when they said, Shane Douglas was pinned, I'm like, all right, you guys can stop now. But whatever. At least they got through this, and then it would probably be mentioned later on, or not even, because I believe at this point now Shane Douglas had moved on to ECW. He became the first it was supposed to be Eastern Championship Wrestling, and he won the NWA title down there, or their version anyway.
Right? Yeah, I know. It's a whole other.
Because there's a couple of versions of it.
It's a whole other can of worms when it comes to that championship.
Exactly. Our next segment was Eric Bischoff interviewed Dusty Rhodes, Stu Hart, and Mr. Wrestling #2. And it's funny because Dusty Rhodes, says, I heard what he said earlier. I'll, bring his fat ass and I'll fight. I'm like, oh, come on. We don't need to see this. I mean, are you going to go down to the ring now and do it? I mean, no. It was nice though when he interviewed Stu Hart. I always love. I got a lot of respect for Stu Hart. And just listening to him, I'm like, hey, why don't you give a shout out to Brett and Owen?
Imagine.
But Vince was not going to punish either one of them. They're at the top of their game.
No.
Fixing to start it.
No, but Vince is not going to punish them for mentioning Brett and Owen. I'm saying WCW would have probably been mad about that.
Yeah, but Stu wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
Now on to what I would say is one half of the main event. It was for the NWA World Championship. Barry Windham defending the title against Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
Um,
Horseman versus Horseman.
and Barry Windham, man, he get busted open in this match. Oh man,
Windham was a great wrestler, man.
He was underrated.
But
what I don't understand is in WCW he's top of the game. In WWE he's the stalker.
Yeah, I mean, they were
the Widowmaker.
Yeah, but I think at that point he was older, he had injuries, so he wasn't the same physically. But
I mean, granted, he was a former tag team champion in WrestleMania.
Well, I mean,
WrestleMania 1, you had the tag titles. You were the first ever defended at WrestleMania. That's something good.
Yeah, but it's not. I understand what you're saying, but it's not really even recognized. Like, does anybody ever talk about that?
Not really. No, they talk about his NWA run, his WCW run.
Right. So, I mean, it's great to see the Horseman versus Horseman. It's kind of surprising that Arn didn't get more title shots.
I know.
The NWA
or the
title,
fact that he didn't even win the title.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of weird, right? The only thing about this, I think was funny is it me or did Arn look like he had a diaper on? Like, did he not have his right pair of shorts? His trunks? He looked like a diaper, right? I think it looked like it was too loose, like it was too big.
Ain't no telling. Maybe I'm not going there.
Yeah.
So it was funny towards the end, Windham had grabbed the belt, and then the referee went down. Anderson went after him. He got tossed. He gets tossed into the ref. Mm-hmm. Windham hits Anderson with the belt and gets the pin. So obviously Wyndham's not going to win this cleanly.
Well, stupid Arn knocked the referee down.
Yeah, and again, why Arn Anderson never won this title? I don't know.
It's kind of weird that he didn't. He never won it.
He was mostly the television champion, or if not tag champion, but they never put him at the top of the list, and I don't understand why.
They should have.
But in any event, Barry Windham is the still reigning, defending NWA
champion. Yeah.
Now on to the main event. We got Vader defending the WCW title against the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith.
In a match they didn't even hype up throughout the
No, they didn't. All it was Bulldog comes out a few months earlier in a pay-per-view. I'm challenging Big Van Vader. Yeah. Okay, here's the match. You got it. It didn't get better until it went to Beach Blast.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Once they got there, then the feud got better. But for this match, this felt like a Clash of the Champions match. I mean, really.
I thought the match was good, but in terms of the hype behind it, it just felt
there was none.
It was kind of just like, we just told the guys to get the other.
Because Bulldog was never, until this point, was never in a world title bout other than this right here.
And Bulldog wasn't even around that long at that point either.
A few months.
Yeah.
Because
he was a great wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
But he had Vader on the ropes, though, man.
Oh, yeah. It was funny because Bulldog picked him up. He had him in like that electric chair.
Mm-hmm.
And he dropped him, and people were actually surprised with that. Vader whipped Bulldog into the corner. Vader went for the splash, but Bulldog caught him, which was actually pretty cool. And he gave the power slam on that.
Yep.
Of course, Harley Race going to bring up the count.
Yep.
And they went outside. Vader used the chair and got disqualified. So Bulldog wins the match, but doesn't win the title.
That was a crap ending.
Well, yeah, because the beatdown didn't stop there. You saw Bagwell and Scorpio came down.
They all got their asses whipped.
Yeah. Until Sting came down.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody whooping Sting.
Right, yeah. It's Sting.
Vader went for the power bomb, and Sting gave him a flying clothesline.
Yeah, Sting saved him.
Saved the day. And this would set up the eventual Vader and Sid versus Bulldog and Sting at Beach Blast.
Yeah.
And every time when I watch this match, the one thing I think of is WWE in '96 and '97 with Bulldog and Vader. The flag match. We just did the In Your House Bad Blood not recently, and there we go. We have Bulldog and Vader in that one. But this was the better version, I think, because Vader was at the top of his game.
Yeah.
So he's still the champion.
Yeah.
They closed out the night with, unfortunately, it was Eric Bischoff interviewing Magnum TA.
Yeah. What the hell was he doing there?
He wasn't a legend. I think it was just there. I don't know.
No, then if and I like my Magnum TA. I'm a fan of his,
definitely.
And I thought that, unfortunately, if not for that accident, he would have been, a megastar.
Yes.
But it felt weird. It felt like he just showed up, like, hey, and here's Magnum TA.
Still under
Right?
contract? I don't know.
Like, no, he's still working for the company. I think he's doing some announcing or whatever he's doing. Either way, it just felt weird to me. I'm like, what is he doing here at the
Oh,
end of the show?
yeah, I thought he was going to come out and be like, "Oh, that's it. I got medically cleared. I'm back. I'm challenging
I don't know.
somebody."
Yeah,
That
no.
probably would have made the night even better.
Yeah,
But unfortunately, no. Magnum TA, man, that guy, his career would have been personified as one of the
yeah.
best ever.
Hmm.
He had the look. Up and coming U.S. champion, was definitely going to be world champion.
Hmm.
Who knows how many times?
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
it's a shame. But I mean, that pretty much wrapped up Slamboree '93. So
that
hey,
was
at least you got Vader in the main event for the next one and the one after that. So
yeah,
we still got main event Vader here,
yeah,
Slamboree.
yeah. All right, well, you guys let us know what you think about this pay-per-view, which is probably not much.
Exactly.
Just and like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.